Michael Black, welcome to Nature of Reality Radio. It was a
Hey, hey.
pleasure listening to you and all the Waves of Light gang members at the Cozumel cruise from Tampa to Cozumel, Mexico on the Brilliance of the Seas Royal Caribbean Cruise Line back in January. That was my first ever cruise. It was an event to remember. And your talk was about how to deal with money clearing, money karma, and whatnot. So I guess we've only got 40 minutes or so tonight. So, with that being said, why don't you start off by giving well, I say abridged version, but if a talk was only about, well, I don't know how long your talk was, but if it was only about maybe an half an hour talk, then give a slightly abridged version if you want to pretty much regurgitate everything that you said there, if it wasn't a long talk in your in this time that we have here to start off with, and then I've got a few questions of my own. So talk about what you said in your presentation. You got the floor.
Definitely. Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, it was great meeting you at the event. I grew up in the Midwest, and my grandma was psychic. She taught me a lot of cool things. And one thing was some things she taught me about money. And I kind of, over the professional career, I've worked at Fortune 50 companies, been executive vice president, sales manager, all this stuff. And I always use some of these strategies that she taught me. And I want to share some of those with your folks tonight. And yeah, I'll just start off. I was at the bank today, and I got I got some $100 bills. And when's the last time you looked at a $100 bill? So they're like artwork. I don't know if you've taken a look at one recently, but
I saw
the
one
middle.
recently when I was at Whole Foods,
Yeah.
as a matter of fact, and I actually jokingly said to the lady in front of me who was giving it to the cashier, I jokingly said, "Hey, $100 bill, it might be a counterfeit," and then I said, "Hey, just messing with you, lady." But my,
Right.
my point is that does show that in nowadays you use $100 bill, one of the many people instantly go, "This person might be a counterfeiter," and it's pretty sad and pathetic that that's kind of been the attitude towards one of the unpleasant attitudes towards money that we've got in this day and age. But I'm digressing. You carry on.
Yeah, yeah. So, what I would do is for new sales reps, I would train salespeople, and I was a sales manager, all this stuff. I would have them carry around $500 in cash, and it was five $100 bills. And I learned this technique from a buddy of mine, Rick. We call him Big Rick. He's about 400 pounds, and he's a professional gambler. And there's some law, and anyways, what he would do is he would go and gamble, and he would always carry more money than other people had in the place, and the guy would win all the time. And there were times when he wouldn't carry a lot of money, and he would like tie or lose. So he figured out there's something to this thing. And then I don't know if you remember that Ocean's 11 movie where they would funnel all the money from all the casinos into one kind of bank area. Well, there's something to that. There's that energy. Anyways, I would carry $700 usually in cash on me, and I started having my salespeople do that, and all of a sudden their sales went through the roof, and they felt more unlimited, they felt more prosperous. Now they couldn't use this money on paying bills or whatever. They would just carry this on them, and the law of attraction says whatever you focus on, you get more of. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that too. They say that we have between 30 and 40,000 thoughts a day, and 95% of those thoughts are repeating thoughts. So if you've got negative thoughts, you're going to be repeating those all day. So make sure you're staying focused on the things you want. And I do a lot of coaching with folks, and probably one of the biggest challenges they have is how they answer, "What do you want?" When I ask people, "What do you want?" they look a little dazed or confused. They sometimes tell you exactly what they don't want, but they really, they haven't thought about it, or they're too busy, or, they've got a wife and a mortgage and screaming kids and a bad dog and, all this stuff we call life. Well, it would be really nice if you could, sit down with a notebook, go into nature, and just write out what you really want. What do you really want out of life? Spend an hour and really think about it. What do you want your ideal day to be? What do you want your ideal company to look like? How do you want your relationships? Get as detailed as you can. And there's real magic that happens when you download, when you take that information that's inside and pull it out of you and put it down on paper. And I'd really like to encourage you and your guests to do this because it's super powerful. So getting back to this $100 bill, I'd like to have your guests do this exercise too. Is get a $100 bill and look at it and really notice the art on it. They've got four 100s on the front, and they've only got three 100s on the back, and this beautiful Independence Hall on the back, and God We Trust. And the artwork is really amazing. They took a lot of time and effort to build these things, and not to print them, but to do the graving and that sort of thing. And when's the last time you've stopped and done that? And I encourage you to do that. And of course, carry $100 bills on you. That'll help you feel unlimited. Um, Another thing too, I talked about at the conference was I worked for a guy that was worth $500 million, and he taught me a lot of things. I was kind of his right hand man. I did a lot of the work that he didn't want to do, and basically ran his companies for him. It's really a great experience. Did that for a few years. One of the things he taught me, and the one thing I run into with clients, is they don't prioritize their time. They don't really focus their time. They're trying to do 10 things at once. They think this multitasking thing really works. Well, I don't really think it does. From the people I've talked to in my own experience, if you could just do one task really well and then on to the next, that would be perfect. So it's something I teach called segment intending. It means where you break down just a block of time and you focus on only one thing. So you'll turn your phone off and not look at the computer, and you'll just do whatever task you're trying to do. So if it's typing up an email to send to somebody or whatever, you can do that. But I'm saying don't check your email. Don't be distracted with other stuff. So just really focus on what's important and break that time down so that you can just focus on that time. And you can do these blocks of 10 minutes or 20 minutes. If you're feeling frisky, you can do more. Just make sure though that you're focused just on that. Only do just that. And then some other things that have come up too. There's always issues that pop up and stress and that sort of thing. And some of the highest level people that get a lot of great results are people that can cut their stress out. So what I mean by that is if there's relationship issues or this or that, they handle it. They don't try to run from stuff. They can sleep at night. They just handle stuff. So there was a light fixture that was broken at my house, and every time I walked by that dang thing, I would just be mad, and I never took the time to fix it. So finally one day I took the time. It took me 20 minutes to fix it, and it was done. But there was a whole couple months that every time I walked by it, I would just get pissed off. Well, I could have easily took care of it then, and I didn't, and I put it off. So what I'm talking about with this is if there's things that you've been putting off, just handle it. And if you can solve problems with money, do it. Just get it done. Don't be messing around with this stupid stuff. And I know we've all got little things in our life that we could just take care of, and for some reason we don't. But I like to encourage your people to take care of it. A couple other things that drive me nuts too is some people don't keep their word. They say, "Oh yeah, let's do lunch. Let's do." They have no intention of doing that, or they make promises that they don't keep, or that sort of thing. So really be impeccable with your word. If you tell somebody you're going to do something, just do it. So that means if there's something you don't want to do, don't agree to it. Do not put yourself in that position. So really be impeccable with your word. I think that's one of the keys to success. And when you do that, people can depend on you. They feel more safe around you. They'll give you more responsibility. It really pays a lot of dividends. Another thing, I don't know if you've read that Four Agreements, but that's a really great book. I'd like to encourage all your folks to read. One of the passages in there is don't take anything personal. So being human in our human experience, that can be really tough to do. But don't take anything personal. So if somebody cuts you off in the road, just keep moving. Don't take it personal. Maybe his cat died or something was happening in his life that he needed to cut you off or whatever. But if you ask him a month later or a day later, he may not remember the whole thing. So I think that's what happens a lot of times. So another thing this really wealthy gentleman taught me was to always work your problems backwards. If you can work your problems backwards, you can get the solution a little faster. So it involves visualization, and you would kind of focus on what you really want to have happen, the goal. And then you can just kind of float above and float out to that timeline and look back towards the now and see what happened, what steps you took in order to get that goal. And this requires you to use your imagination a little bit. And it's really amazing when you see what happens and you come back with real solutions. You can take time to get good at that, and it really pays dividends. The guy that made $500 million, he did that all the time. So that's one of his little secrets. And out there, who wants to be a millionaire? Who wants to be a real millionaire? Could you find 200 people that want to buy $5,000 from you? Buy something for $5,000? Or what about 500 people to spend $2,000 with you? Well, both of those are $1,000,000. You just got to work the numbers. I don't know if anybody's ever sat down and kind of played with numbers like that. But being a millionaire, it isn't that hard. It's not easy, but it's not hard. The numbers are there. If you've got 500 clients and each of them spend $2,000 with you, you've got $1,000,000. So what product, service, or information could you give to somebody that would be worth 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 500, whatever, and then just work the numbers backwards? So that's what I mean when you're working your goal backwards, is to think about that millionaire. If that's your goal, then how do you work that backwards? One of the keys is to get a mentor. Find someone that has the results you want financially or in your love life or your career or whatever. Find that person that can help you. In the ancient times, we went and lived with the master. Like if we wanted to be a blacksmith or something like that, we lived with them. We learned and mastered the art of it. And then when the master said we mastered it, then we were released to go help and serve in the community. So we don't really have that anymore. We've got this school system that I don't know what they're teaching in there these days, but anyways, you need to get focused. You need to get a mentor, somebody that really can help you get to your goals. So that's real important. And finding the right mentor is a big deal. And you need to really focus on what their results are, how they got them, how you can duplicate it, what their mindset is. When they were studying, I think it was the Russians or Chinese were studying Greg Louganis, the Olympic swimmer, they got his mechanics down, but they didn't get his mindset down. So they got really good at what they did, but they didn't get everything. So, Tony Robbins, many of these gurus, they talk about modeling. That's a key that's missing too, is that mental part. What's the mental state? So be sure and make sure you're understanding what that involves as well. So there's more than one level of the consciousness on there. All right. And then another thing I think that helps with clearing money blocks is being more creative. Sitting down, taking time to really focus on what areas you need to be creative in, what you want to do, how you can solve problems. They talk about businesses fail in the first 5 years. The percentage is really high. And I believe that the reason they fail is not the lack of money, it's the lack of creativity to get the money. The people are so busy wearing so many hats that they don't have time to focus on the small things and the big things. And they just kind of lose their ship. They lose control of it, and it bombs out. So I think creativity and using your mind more can really help you avoid a lot of problems. And then, as I said before, getting clear on what you want, really clear, crystal clear, real specific. I work with a lot of clients on their love life as well. And they say, oh, I want a good man or good woman or whatever. And they kind of leave it there. And I feel like if you really want to bring them in, if you really want to achieve your goal, get specific. It kind of goes against some of the traditional thinking, but make that list of what you want. Get detailed. I worked with a guy in Germany. He wanted a blonde. She had to have a great body. She had to drive a BMW. She had to want kids. She had to be wealthy, and he had a couple other things on there as well. But people would say, "Oh, you can't be that specific or whatever." Yes, you can. It's like making your list of what you want. So, how would we apply this to the business world or the money world? Well, how much money do you want? Get specific. It can be 11,500 per month in cash flow, or I want to make $3 million in 3 years by October 30th, 2022, or whatever. So yeah, that's the other thing is you want to get a deadline on there too, so that helps. And you'll want to say that deadline or sooner. So that always is a good thing too. All right, so clearing money blocks. The first thing you got to do is see if you've even got any. So chances are, if you're listening to this and breathing as a human, you've got money blocks from the people that we've grown up around, our parents, our authority figures, schooling, TV, radio, any type of programming, past lives, alien influence, all kinds of wild stuff can influence your results in life. I'm talking in the financial world and other parts of your life as well. So if you can kind of sit down with a notebook, I'm big on thinking on paper. I really like doing that, and it's super powerful. So one thing, if you can kind of do this, this will kind of flush out what's really going on with you. And you can do this over a couple days. And what I'd like you to do is write at the top, I and your name am now a multimillionaire. So write that at the top of the page. I want you to put that on the page. And the next thing I want you to do is put on the left side, you want to put all the blocks, all the resistance. And the right side, you put all the positive things, positive reasons, positive feelings, whatever you get. So when you write this, you may immediately be flooded with good thoughts or bad thoughts, and I just want you to record them. So when you start writing them, like I'm too short, or I don't know enough, or I don't, this or that. You just start listening. All the interesting stuff on the left side and all the empowering stuff on the right side. All right. So you can take time and do this over a day, do a little 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, and just see what starts coming out. Because at first, this was my experience, is I had mixtures. First there'd be a ton of positive ones, maybe a couple negative ones, and then a flood of negative ones, and just a few more positive ones. Then all of a sudden, I just started getting all these negative ones, things that are going on. Our subconscious is cranking out all our results in life, and there's a lot of stuff that these programs are being played, and you don't even know it. You're not even recognized with it. So it's good to break this up and do it over a couple days so that you can really get out what's going on the inside, right? So the thing is, if you change the inside, you can change the outside. Has to change, right? So once you have that list, you may have 100 on this side and 50 on the other or whatever, but you want the good and the bad. So on the bad, we want to go ahead and take that list, and then we want to start changing that affirmation. We want to change it into a positive affirmation is what we really want to do. So one person may put, I'm not smart enough, or I'm not educated enough, or I don't know enough about the industry as their resistance or blocks. So what can we do to turn that around? Well, you can get educated. You can go to college. You can talk and interview and buy tapes, videos, and CDs and DVDs and all that stuff, and get educated, right? So really, that's not a reason. So once you can get past that, it'll feel better, right? So and when you see that listed, you could put on I do a 3x5 card. I list all my positive affirmations on there. So once I start taking action on it or whatever, you could list, instead of I'm not educated enough, you could say I am now getting educated, and you can start reading for 10 minutes a night or 20 minutes a night, whatever you're comfortable with. Okay. What's another one? What would be another block that you would have? Well, um, you didn't come from a wealthy family. Well, the opposite of that would be look at all the millionaires that didn't come from wealthy families, right? So see what I'm doing here, and then I take that and I put that on a 3x5 card. And then I've got this card that's really empowered with all these positive affirmations. And then there's a million ways to work with these affirmations. You could, put them on a tape and listen to them daily. You could look at them and smile. You could say them in front of the mirror in a positive light with a smile. You can load them up with EFT. There's about a million other ways you could do it if you like working with affirmations. So definitely make it part of your practice and really get ready to change some things because change can happen fast. It doesn't take years and years to change things. So the other thing is I was in martial arts a lot of my life, and one of the grand masters I met and trained with, he said if you want to get good at something, you have to do it daily. So these positive affirmations can be very powerful. If there's something you want to learn or study, you can definitely do that daily as well. So in the martial arts application, we were practicing daily. We were throwing punches, kicks, holds, takedowns, all this stuff. So we did that daily, and sometimes with partners, sometimes at home alone. So for you, if you're really wanting to be wealthy, and the great thing about wealth is you can help so many more people by being wealthy. It's tough to help people when you're broke. Can you donate time? Yeah. However, money can be another way of donating and helping as well too. And if you got a lot of it, it really comes in handy for charities and organizations and that sort of thing as well. All right. So the other thing I learned with wealthy people is they read a lot. They read a lot. Most of the folks that I've run into and worked with, they really read. They make time daily to read. And these wise men, they learn from their own mistakes, but really the wisest men learn from the mistakes of others. And that's what you can do with reading. You can learn about mistakes somebody else had, and you don't have to make those mistakes. It's just like with getting a mentor. You can figure out where the landmines are, and they can take you around on the other side, so you don't have to go through those learning issues, right? So that could be really powerful for you. Another process I learned in sales, I call this the I love you technique. I just kind of downloaded it one day, and it just kind of came to me. So I started praying for my clients, and my business quadrupled. I really decided that, hey, I want success for everybody I know. And I intentionally took 5 or 10 minutes and just started praying over them. Another thing you do is send them love and light, where you see a beam of God's love and light come through you, fill you up, and then fill them up. So whatever that looks like to you, some people I've taught to send little hearts to people, and even with folks they're not getting along with, this really changes the dynamic. Like if they're operating at a low vibration and you're sending them high vibrations, they typically come up. Not always to meet you, but they come up from where they are. So what that can look like is they'll start treating you better. They'll be more curious about you. They'll just like your energy. It's really phenomenal. I was taught this years ago, and they were talking about curses and how people are throwing curses and cursing you and all this. And, you've heard love your neighbor and all this stuff. Well, there's something to it because that vibration cancels out the curse and it can move it. And I've seen it, and it's amazing. So if you can just send not only people you don't like, but people that you really want the best for, if you can send them love, it really makes a big difference. Another thing I did was I just wrote on a notebook, I love you. And when I was talking to clients or employees or whatever, I would just tap that, and I would kind of say it in my head. Now, keep in mind, you don't want to blurt that out, but if you can just have that in your mind and just have that love energy flow into them, you do have to pay attention to what you're talking about, of course. But that energy is it's phenomenal. I really want you to test that, and it just makes a huge difference. Huge difference. There's two keys that can help you too. Don't reinvent the wheel. If you can figure out the shortcuts, and really study and learn and do things on your own, and mentally use visualization to practice different new things before you do it in the real world, it really makes a difference, and it can cut your learning time down to nothing. I found that the subconscious really loves to rehearse things. And you've heard of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Well, he said that in his bodybuilding career that he would visualize success. He knew he was going to win. And he did it so much that when he would walk in that day of the event, the contest, he acted like he owned the place. And everybody kind of knew it. And he did. He won Mr. Olympia a million times. And then he took that same technology that he kind of developed on himself and he took it to acting. And he became best in his craft at that. And then he became extremely wealthy. He was a real estate developer too. In fact, here in Denver, he owned a bunch of city blocks and made a bunch of money on that. And anyways, the key is to just really visualize, practice what you want. Our minds are so powerful, and we just don't use them enough. The other thing I found too that's been really helpful for me is treating people great. Overwhelm them with great customer service. If you're, wanting clients, over deliver. Give them bonuses they aren't expecting. Check in on them. See how they're doing. Treat them like friends and family. This is something how you treat people. I have there's a little website I do work on. I have probably 2,500 clients, and I love them. They're awesome people. They want my help. We're always chit-chatting back and forth, and it's just a great way to develop that relationship. And I'm their go-to guy when they need healing or psychic work or whatever. I'm their go-to guy. And how I know this is I get referrals. I'm real picky about referring people because I don't want it coming back on me. You know how you've referred something and it goes sideways, and then people call you and say, "Hey, why'd you refer this bum to me?" So I know that I'm doing good because they tell me, and then of course I get referrals and stuff. So that really, really helps. Another thing too on wealth is if you can avoid divorce, avoid not paying taxes, so pay your taxes, and definitely pay your taxes, avoid tax trouble, avoid bankruptcy, and avoid divorce. Those three things absolutely kill your wealth. But if you can stay married, if you can pay your taxes, if you can stay financially solvent, your way to wealth will be paved with gold. You'll be able to do it. And then, of course, surround yourself with people that push you and that want the best for you. It's funny in life. I've been through seasons of clients where they've been in competition with me, or they don't want the best for me. They want the best for them. And those are people I just don't want to hang out with. And on the East Coast, they do this thing called crabbing. It's where you catch crabs and you put them in this bucket. And if there's more than 2 crabs, you need a lid. If there's less than 2 crabs, you need a lid. If there's more than 2 crabs, you don't need a lid. And you're like, why is that? Well, it's because they pull each other down. They pull each other down. So think about that. Make sure you've got the right bucket where you've got the right people in your bucket and want the best for you. I think that's important. No drama, no negativity, only good vibes. And the other thing too is I want you to shoot more. I want you to shoot higher. There's a lot of goals out there. We just kind of go through and think, oh, okay, I'll go for this. You could have gone for so much more, and it's about the same work too. It's about the same time. It's about the same effort and everything. So why not shoot for the stars? You want friends to really bring out the best in you, and you to bring out the best in them. That's what friendships are all about, right? No jealousy, no hate, none of that stuff. Yeah. So great. Yeah.
I hate to interrupt you, but there's only about 2 minutes left, and I do
Sure.
want to get some questions down. A couple of important things here worth discussing regarding money and karma. The echo goes away in the background. I can hear it. But anyhow, okay, first of all, the thing you said about just pay your taxes and you won't have any trouble. Okay, anybody who's read Dave Champion's book, Income Tax Shattering the Myths, knows that taxation is a fraud and a lie at every turn. It's not meant to be, but it is. And one would have to make the argument, okay, well, why should I do something that I know the government doesn't have authority to make me do? How's about I not do it? And if they try to come after me, I fight to the bitter end to stop them and prevent them from locking me up. I know there's ways to fight it in court. Just use the ways Dave Champion teaches in his book. Some people are not willing to do that because they say you can beat the rap, but you can't beat the ride, and they're too cowardly to go through the ride. But I mean, if you're living in a matrix, then one could say if you're not willing to go through the ride, then you're a cowardly disgrace, and you deserve to be shunned for not wanting to go through the hassle. And well, with that being said, does it also is it worthwhile to maybe consider if you're going to fight the people that want to take your money and whatnot and make you force you to pay the taxes that you don't owe? Can you get any help? And I think this is an appropriate question for the entire Waves of Light crew in general. If you were to ask your guardian angels and spirit guides, please shield me and protect me from the IRS if they try to come after me. Is it really that hard for you to protect me? I don't think it is, considering that, Winston Shrout said aliens told him he won't go to jail, and he's been sent to jail he's been sentenced to jail for 10 years, but he's still a wanted fugitive. And, well, maybe he wasn't being crazy after all when he actually said the aliens are protecting him. And apparently some contacts who I spoke to said that they are protecting him, and the reason he's not in jail is because somehow, some way, they set it up so that the control system would have very bad karma for them if they actually locked up Winston Shrout. So one would have to maybe be a little jealous of Winston, but also ask, okay, well, if he can do that, why can't we ask our angels and guides to do the same thing for us, so we don't have to follow a mentality of just pay your taxes and you won't have any trouble, even though they have no authority to make you pay the taxes. What's your comment on that?
Yeah, so it's totally true. The law wasn't ratified correctly. There was a guy, Benson, that I studied years ago, and he's 100% true. The problem is the judge and everybody on the jury pays taxes, and if you try to fight the government, they've got one big foot that would come down on you. And even though you're right, and the angels would do their work, it still could go an opposite way. And I'd rather spend my time, hanging out with cool chicks and making a lot of money and helping a lot of clients rather than worried about my taxes. And the thing is, if you have write-offs and stuff, you're not going to have a lot of taxes anyways. So I don't think it's that big a deal to just pay them and go on.
Okay, that's your opinion. Also,
That's my opinion.
another thing about money and karma, Nikki Sutton, who runs the Spiritual Awakening YouTube channel, the official channel called Spiritual Awakening, has said that one of the ways to have money come to you and wealth abundance come to you, this is one of the most controversial methods she gives. It's the most head-scratching method, is donate to charity. Now, that's head-scratching because you're thinking, I want to make money. Why would I give money away? Well, the law of attraction and the way the universe is set up is when you donate to a very good cause, like a worthy charity, the money you give can come back to you multiplied in the most unexpected of ways. So people have to wake up to that and realize, okay, if you do it, it will come back to you, and that's a good thing. Now, another thing is don't steal, because if you steal, well, karma will come back to bite you. However, is there a caveat to that if you're let me use the Aladdin analogy of street rat. if you're a street rat or like homeless on the street, and as Aladdin would say, gotta eat to live, gotta steal to eat, otherwise I wouldn't have a chance. If you're in that position, would the universe, if you were to steal to live and eat and whatnot, is that the exception to the if you steal you'll have bad karma to yourself, because the universe understands you're in a very bad position, so it's going to say, okay, I forgive you for stealing. That's the only way you're going to live. You are not going to generate bad karma for yourself because you got to do that to survive, unlike someone else who's stealing even though they're living a very decent life and not living homeless on the street. Is that the way the universe works? Does the universe forgive street rats and street urchins like Aladdin who need to steal to make a living?
No, I don't think there's exceptions to the rule of karma. I think it
Really?
always comes back. Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, they're suffering
And I
as much
think
as they are anyway, so is the basic
right.
suffering they're still going through
Yeah.
the karma that comes through as a result of stealing? Is that
Yeah.
the way to look at it?
I think so.
Okay.
The thing with tithing, though, you're telling your subconscious, look, I've got more than enough. More than enough's going to come to me. If I give this to this charity that's great, it is going to come back. Unconsciously, that's what's going on. And I've done the tithing before, and it really does work. It really does work. If you give, and it will come back. Yeah, it's an amazing thing.
Yeah, and I've had this little recently at a conference that I went to in San Diego, Brendan Bouchard's influencer conference, to
Oh
try to
yeah.
monetize what you know. I mean, Andrew Bartis, when I did my Akashic session with him, where he did life reviews and analyzed my Akashic record and all that back in December 2017, the last thing he did with me was ask me, would you be willing to try to quit your day job and maybe like monetize your radio show and the stuff you do? And well, I'd say that would certainly be lovely, a nice stepping stone to get out of the matrix. I don't have my job. I mean, I work for in my mother's ophthalmology business as a clerk. It's not that bad. Everybody around me is friendly, and it doesn't really. I mean, I don't have it easy because of nepotism. It's a backbreaking hard job in the file room, but I still everybody's
Right.
very friendly around me and all that. And it's a 9 to 5 job that I can certainly still be happy with. But it would be nice to get out of it. And he did. When he suggested try to monetize your radio show, well, that would be great if I could do that, but it would really suck if I had to tell all my listeners, you can't listen to my show for free anymore. You're going to have to pay to listen to it.
Mhm.
So I may have to find some other ways to go about this. Does the universe, however, like in general, if you're the kind of person that decides, okay, I am going to quit my job, I'm going to try to monetize these things, I'm going to hope that I'll get more donations than I would have if I wasn't working a 9 to 5 job. In general, does the universe find a way to make sure that you get like through donations and all that, and get monetized in ways that you otherwise wouldn't if you kept that 9 to 5 job while doing the other things that you do? If you get what I'm
Yeah,
trying to say.
I understand what you're saying. I think there's more than one way to do it. You don't have to just charge your listeners. You could get promotions. You could get somebody to sponsor you. You could sell T-shirts or a million other things. It doesn't have to be just that one way. And I think we get stuck and we only think, oh, there's only one way to do it. Well, that's not true. You need to open up your creativity and just sit down and think and relax. And maybe you could do private coaching sessions. Maybe you could do a meditation you sell or whatever. It doesn't have to be just one way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the universe is always listening. And those constant thoughts you have, good or bad, it says, "Oh, Andrew must think this is important, so I'll send it to him." And if it was the thought that, "Oh shit, I'm worried that the IRS is going to catch me," or whatever issue it was, well, then the universe saying, "Oh, Andrew must think this is really important, so I'm going to send it to him." It doesn't really understand positive or negative. It just understands Andrew's putting a lot of attention on this. Let's send it to him. It must be important. So if you can think of your subconscious as like a 4-year-old, it doesn't understand jokes. It doesn't understand you making fun of somebody else. It only understands stuff that's kind of logical. It loves games. It loves symbols. If you can make this, turn in your business into a, financial windfall, if you figure out how to turn that into a game, the money's going to show up really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's pretty
Okay,
wild.
I wasn't on mute there. How about that? Okay, but
Yeah.
anyhow, all right. How about one more question, and then we'll
Sure.
call it a night.
Yeah.
Now, one thing on a global scale that that a lot of people are hoping for is we can finally get with the rest of the Universal program. And what I mean by that is Alex Collier, E.T. Contactee, has been saying for years that we're the only civilization in the galaxy that he knows of that uses money. And a lot of people can't help but hear that and think, oh my God, well, it's about time we join the rest of the club and get with the program. And well, there appears to be some sort of a stepping stone to get to that, known as the RV Global Currency Reset Nasara Jasara thing, which is supposed to get rid of the fiat debt-based currency system we have to replace it with gold or silver-backed gold standard currency as a stepping stone to eventually, maybe after 10 to 15 years of living with that and trying to phase out of that, to eventually get into no money at all, and then we can join the rest of the club. But it's been getting very, very annoying and very disturbing that we keep hearing this RV might happen next Tuesday thing, and
Right.
yet it doesn't happen. And the excuse we kept getting is, well, the bankers are refusing to surrender. They're resisting more than we expect. Well, are they resisting more than you expect, or the people that want RV to happen are trying to make it happen, not trying hard enough to make it happen so the rest of humanity doesn't keep suffering from a debt-based system? Now, lots of people would say, well, stop worrying about this. Worry about your own personal life. Well, okay, one person can't change the world. If I all of a sudden find a way to like quit my day job and make a money off of, well, other things like a lot of people in the spiritual community have done, that unfortunately is just a drop in the bucket compared to the rest of the world, and that's not going to instantly cause RV to happen on a global scale. So with that being said, what does the human race as a collective have to do if we expect to finally get with the program and get the RV to happen, so we can, after a decade and a half or two, get to no money at all?
I think it's going to be quite a few more years before we have to worry about that. But yeah, it's going to be real interesting to see how it comes out. And I feel like, with the other countries coming on with development and stuff, we are going to some of this crypto and some of this. There's a few more steps before we go even there. And I mean, I haven't used cash in a long time. Have you? I mean, I use less cash now than
Well,
10 years ago.
okay, well, maybe I'll ask you this, and then we'll call it a show. To be honest with you, my when I use money, I'm almost always using a credit card
Right.
or a debit card, and the reason why
Right.
is because all my cards, well, why am I doing that? It's because I can get airline miles and
Right.
Amtrak train miles on my card whenever I spend it, which
Yeah.
enables me to get to conferences at a faster rate than otherwise. And other reason I wouldn't use cash, well, I don't really have to, because every time I get all my money paycheck deposit in the bank, the
Right.
first thing I do is, well, pay off all the bills, and then I still are in debt to some extent, so I'm still paying it off. But if I wasn't in debt and didn't have any bills to pay off to get my bank account down to zero before I have to wait another couple of weeks for a paycheck, what I would do is I'd spend all that remaining money on gold and silver. So don't really know cash for me to spend. I don't really think I'm, even though they say you should use cash as much as possible. Well, no, I think I have a good excuse. As long as I'm using my credit and debit cards that can get me airline and train miles to travel to go to spiritual conferences, I think I got a good excuse to not use cash. So it's
Yeah.
my excuse, a reasonable excuse to not
Yeah.
use cash.
Right. They say you do spend 20% more using credit cards on average.
If you have interest, but
Yeah.
if you pay off all your bills, that
That's
wouldn't
true.
be an issue.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, hey, I wanted to wrap up too. January 17th through the 19th, 2020, we're doing our conference again in
I'm not gonna be able to
Sarasota.
make it. I'm sorry.
I know, dang it. But anybody can go to wavesoflight.org, wavesoflight.org, and we'd love to have anybody and we're gonna miss you this time, Andrew.
Sure you will. All right.
Yeah,
All
great
right.
talking,
Well,
man.
good luck.
Thanks.
It was great talking to you. And this is only a 40-minute interview, so it won't take me as long to put it in a YouTube compatible format. So I'll do that tonight. Hopefully, I can get it on YouTube by midnight tonight instead of midnight tomorrow, like I usually tell my listeners.
Fine.
So good luck with everything you do. Pleasure
Hey,
talking
thanks,
to you.
man. All
Take
right,
care.
take care of yourself.
Namaste, my friend. Bye bye.
All right, you too. God bless.